Keyword: Star Wars. Star Wars. From movies to books to games to shows to unlimited swag, the epic space opera Star Wars is everywhere. And we're gonna add to the pile by talking about how the franchise's best villains became their terrifying selves, plus making lightsabers in 2 different ways. Tongue twister time. All of us contain multitudes. Sometimes we're good. Jolly, Jedi, drill, jujitsu. Jolly, Jedi, drill, jujitsu. Jolly Jedi drill jujitsu, Jolly Jedi drill jujitsu, Jolly Jedi drill jujitsu. And sometimes we're bad. 7 sassy Sith sewing socks. 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 And sometimes we get traumatized and take a path of rage and hatred, like many of the incredible villains in the Star Wars universe. Fantasy science. Now, not everyone who goes through trauma ends up on a path of rage and hatred, of course, but it is the case for these folks. I know you all have strong feelings on these characters too, so let me know your thoughts on my list of top 6 traumatized Star Wars villains. And of course, spoiler alert, for a bunch of stuff. First up, the newbie, Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren was originally Ben Solo, the son of Princess, Senator, and icon Leia Organa, and infamous ace pilot Han Solo. Strong with the Force even before being born, Emperor Palpatine secretly forged a Force bond with Ben as an infant to begin manipulating him. Leia and Han had a troubled marriage, and initially chose to not train Ben in the Force, fearful that he'd fall to the dark side, but eventually they did ask Luke Skywalker, Leia's brother and Ben's uncle, to train Ben. Then, at 23, Ben learned that Darth Vader was his grandfather, and his deep feeling of betrayal that this truth was hidden from him added to his growing darkness. Sensing this, Luke attacked Ben one night, which, would be pretty darn traumatic. Ben got away with the help and goading of Palpatine, and thus, with his parents' strife, manipulation from the moment he was born, and attempted nepoticide, he became the troubled and angry, very angry, Kylo Ren. In 5th spot we have Boba Fett. Boba Fett was a clone of bounty hunter Jango Fett, though Jango raised Boba as his son rather than as a clone. Jango trained Boba in the art of combat until his death at the hands of Jedi Master Mace Windu, who cut off Jango's head, right in front of Boba, who was a child. This trauma fueled a lifelong hatred of the Jedi and Boba, who then grew up as an orphan in the galaxy's criminal underworld, which would have been pretty brutal. Oh, and since the Republic's clone troopers were all clones of his father, he had to see his dead father everywhere and sometimes also fight him. That would have been pretty brutal too. 4th on the list is the classic Darth Vader. Vader's origin story is pretty well known since it's the subject of Star Wars movies 1 to 3, but to sum up, Darth Vader was originally Anakin Skywalker, who was raised as a slave with his mother on a desert planet before being taken away to train as a Jedi. While training, he struggled with letting go of attachment and got into a secret relationship with Galactic Senator Padme Amidala. Then, 10 years after he left to train, his mother was kidnapped by Sand People and died in his arms, fueling his fury and fears of losing those he loves, particularly Padme. These fears and fury were manipulated and encouraged by then Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, who promised Anakin would never again have to lose someone he loved because the Sith had a secret way to stop death. Anakin then helped lead the eradication of the Jedi Order, including taking out a bunch of younglings, which must have added a whole other level of moral injury and trauma that created the iconic villain we know and love. Or fear. Taking bronze is everyone's favorite murder bot. It's General Grievous. But Grievous wasn't always a bot. Or cyborg, technically. General Grievous started life as Kaimain Hai Shilal, a proud reptilian Kaleesh warrior who fought in a generational war against an insectoid species called the Huck. The Huck aligned with the Republic, who sent Jedi to help win the war for the Huck, causing the Kaleesh to be oppressed by them and beginning Grievous's deep hatred of the Jedi. Later, sensing his incredible combat abilities, Count Dooku blew up Grievous's ship but told him that the Jedi had been responsible for the attack. Blinded by rage and his grievous injuries from the crash, Grievous accepted his iconic metal body, which he loathed at first, but learned to appreciate for all the skittering and murder it allowed him to do. I guess mixing generational trauma, oppression, and serious manipulation is a recipe for violence. In 2nd place, and actually my favorite Star Wars character, Asajj Ventress. Ventress was born to the Night Sisters on Dathomir, who were forced to give up baby Ventress to a pirate in order to protect the clan. The pirate kept her as a slave until she was a young child, when that pirate was killed by Jedi Knight Kai Narek, who saved Ventress upon realizing she was Force-sensitive. Ventress trained under Narek for years, until he too was killed, this time right in front of her. She became consumed by fury, reasonably, and embraced the dark side, blaming the Jedi and Republic for abandoning her master. Eventually, she was found by Count Dooku, who continued her training in the Force, this time as a Sith assassin / kinda secret apprentice. And Ventress, from all that trauma and rage and instability, truly became a force to be reckoned with. I'll stop here now, but it's not even close to the end of her story, and you should go learn about that too because it's awesome. Okay, and finally, the #1 traumatized Star Wars villain is Darth Maul. Maul, like Ventress, was born on Dathomir and given away at a young age. But Maul was willingly given up to Sith Lord Darth Sidious, aka Palpatine, after Sidious noted his potential. Maul was consumed by his training, which included inhaling the ashes of Sith warriors killed by the Jedi, so that he could experience their anguish and pain, standard training stuff. This experience, combined with his dark origins and indoctrination, bred in Maul a powerful hatred of the Jedi. After many years of training and waiting, Maul fought Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, killing Jinn but being sliced in half by Kenobi. But that's not where his story, or trauma, ends. Maul survived his bisection through pure hatred of Kenobi, escaping and hiding on a junk planet where his hatred forged him a terrifying spider lower body. His exile pain and rage twisted his mind, and he became more and more feral until found by his brother and saved by the Night Sisters, who replaced his scary spider legs with scary metal ones and healed his mind enough to allow him to menace the galaxy once again. So what do you think? Do you agree with my list? Is your favorite villain nowhere to be seen? Let me know in the comments. Science experiments for dogs. Where would Star Wars be without its signature weapon, the lightsaber? Goodies and baddies alike love these danger plasma swords, and you can actually make one at home. And not even just one made out of cardboard, but one that actually lights up and is still safe. No danger, or plasma, or sword. Let's get started. Where a regular lightsaber is powered by a kyber crystal, science hasn't yet found any earth crystals with quite the same capabilities. So we're gonna make a simple circuit with some copper tape, an LED, and a battery instead. I'm working off of Rosie Research's instructions, and have put the link below if you'd like more detail on the process. And though we don't have kyber crystals, scientifically calling something a crystal just means it has a really well-organized molecular structure. And the atoms in the battery I'm using are arranged in a crystal structure, so it is kinda like we have a kyber crystal. Except our battery won't change color through our will or emotion or rage. Probably a good thing. I was gonna use a red LED since Arbor can be a bit dramatic at times, but since he was full and sleepy, he felt peaceful and chose green instead. I fancied up the handle, and then it was time to test. And there you have it, celebrating Star Wars with traumatized villains and lightsabers 2 ways. Destroyable and super cool. If you liked this video, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you soon.